Honestly, to me, it's kind of hard to imagine given it feels as though it came out so recently, but the Nintendo DS is by far the best-selling handheld console. Almost 40 million units beyond the next best-selling system, the DS was a phenomenon, and as you'd expect received a lot of games to capitalize on that success. An unfortunate side effect is that many great games fell through the cracks. Here's 6 games for the DS you may not have heard of that are definitely worth giving a try. Alien Infestation. Alien Infestation is a WayForward developed run-and-gun game, kind of in the same style as the Metal Slug series but infused with some Metroidvania level design. Though it is an action game, the lighting, sound design, and claustrophobic levels aid in giving Infestation the eerie horror atmosphere that is iconic of the Alien franchise. The detail to the sprites and the smoothness of the animation is exactly the style I think of when I envision sprite-based DS games. There's no doubt this game couldn't possibly run on a GBA, and it's exactly what you'd expect from WayForward, who have a penchant for pushing hardware systems to their absolute limit. Though unfortunately, like their iconic Shantae for the Game Boy Color, which underperformed as a result of releasing so late in the Game Boy's life, Alien Infestation was released in mid-2011, at which point the 3DS was already out globally. Consequently, like Shantae, Alien Infestation didn't get the admiration it deserved, which is a shame as it deserves a place amongst the best Metroidvania games on the DS. Retro Game Challenge. Predating NES Remix by 4 years, Retro Game Challenge is essentially the same premise. You have a selection of imitation retro games in which you have to complete a handful of challenges, ranging from simply completing the game to performing an odd task. An interesting bit of trivia is that the guy giving you these challenges is Shinya Arino, who in real life hosts a retro gaming themed TV show in Japan, and you might recognise him from a pretty iconic image online. The only really disappointing aspect of the game is that they are imitation games, despite being published by Bandai Namco, who produced a plethora of classic arcade games that would have worked perfectly in this format. Retro Game Challenge opts to make up games that only resemble real retro games, which is a bit of a shame. Otherwise this game achieves the same level of immediate quirky fun as NES Remix, but with far sharper writing and overall more attention to presentation. The next 2 games are a little spooky, so proceed with caution. Dementium, The Ward. Dementium The Ward is a super low-key first-person survival horror game, developed by Renegade Kid, who are pretty well known for producing 3 of the best first-person games for the DS. First of all, the game looks gorgeous, both the sheer graphical quality and the really grim art style. How good the game looks goes a long way in building the game's creepy atmosphere, the dingy walls and blood-stained floor, the bugs that scurry away from your light and the decayed appearance of the HUD. There's so much attention to detail which authenticates the horror setting. Gameplay is kinda lacking and attacking enemies with melee attacks looks kinda comical, but the vast majority of the game is spent slowly creeping around hallways, with your heartbeat slowly rising, which is when the game is most effective. Nanashi no Game. Hands down the scariest game on the DS and perhaps one of the most graphically impressive. In Nanashi no Game you play as a university student whose TS, or twin screen, unexpectedly downloads a cursed JRPG, which gives clues as to why things in the real world are becoming so strange. The game largely plays like a visual novel with some interactive elements like some 3D environments to walk through and investigate, and of course the JRPG to play through. Otherwise this is like an old school style ADV or graphic adventure game, but with a very thick haunting atmosphere. Player involvement is kinda light, you'll mainly be reading through plot, but the story is really successful in hooking the player with its intrigue and scary themes. Though it can be kinda slow at the beginning, Nanashi no Game is a very rewarding experience overall, and did the whole psychological horror metagame thing a decade before games like Pony Island and Doki Doki Literature Club. Bangai-O Spirits. Of course it wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't rave about how great all of Treasure's games are. Bangai-O Spirits is a follow-up to the N64 game Bangai-O. and both games play pretty much the same, but there's been a shift in level design that changes how you approach gameplay. Whereas the original game featured more sprawling levels with greater space between enemies, encouraging a more traditional shoot-'em-up approach to combat, Bangarra Spirits is far more enclosed, with far more enemies and tighter locations. The result is a game that emphasises more tactical gameplay. Far from a mindless shooter, Spirits is almost verging on a puzzle game, in how you have to plan out your attacks and how each level can be replayed so quickly to achieve a perfect run. Not that the game is at all slow paced, I mean it can get pretty hectic, but Bangai-O Spirits presents an interesting fusion of genres that has an acquired taste but is definitely worth giving a try. C.O.P the Recruit. Originally meant to be an entry in the Driver franchise, C.O.P the Recruit is the only game on the DS by innovative developers Velez and Dubail, whose 3D games on the GBA are truly in a league of their own, and they don't disappoint with their only outing on the DS. C.O.P is unmatched in the system in terms of what it accomplishes in graphics, and the impressive rendering of the city. This game is easily comparable to the GTA story games on the PSP, which was a significantly more powerful console. The open world to explore, the varied gameplay and mission types, and the story exploring the crime underbelly of a city will be sure to satisfy those looking for a GTA experience on the PSP. Though unfortunately, like going back and playing those old GTA games, C.O.P the Recruit can kinda feel clunky and rough around the edges, but there's no experience even close to this on the Nintendo DS. It may not be spectacular, but it's a technical accomplishment, and the amount of content to sink hours into makes C.O.P the Recruit a must play. Thank you for watching. Hit like to show your support, and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Have a nice day. Peace.